Oh, hey friends! I'm just checking on a recipe for my supper tonight just to make sure I have all the ingredients. And it looks like I have everything but frozen meatballs, which is okay because I'm not really a fan of the store-bought meatballs. However, I do make them myself. So if you want to hang out with me and watch how I do that, and I might make a couple other recipes to go with that. I'm going to start with one sleeve of saltine crackers or soda crackers, same thing, just different name. And put it in a gallon bag, or if you have a food processor, you can put it in there. I'm just going to show you how you can crush them up in a bag. And get as much air out as you can and zip it up. And then you can use a rolling pin to crush it. You can use your hands a little bit. If you do not have a rolling pin, you can use a cooking spray bottle and just roll it or crush it like that. But I have a rolling pin, so I'm going to use that. I should say I have a broken rolling pin. This one, my handle's broke on it, but I like it better this way anyway. I'm just going to crush these into fine pieces. You want it to look like this. I'm just going to close this up, set this aside, and then get to the next part. I have 1 pound of ground turkey. I'm going to cut this open and put it in the mixing bowl. You can use hamburger if you'd like. All right, I've washed my hands and actually I have some gloves on, and I'm going to break this up just a little bit. Now I'm going to add the crushed crackers and then 1 beaten egg, which I'm just going to break it up just a little bit, just poke it, slightly beaten, that's good. Then you can wash your hands and just mix it, take off any rings that you have because they will get gross. I'm going to wear some gloves and mash that up. Mix this up. If you are using hamburger, you're going to want to add 1 cup of water, just a little at a time. Hamburger is a lot firmer than ground turkey. Ground turkey is very soft, so these meatballs are going to be a little bit softer. Honestly, I think they taste better. You do not need to season them. There is salt in the saltines. If you want to add pepper, you could. I don't. Typically, after they're baked, I put some barbecue sauce on them, throw it in a crock pot to heat them up, and that's dinner. I know several picky eaters who like plain meatballs, and I just give them different dipping sauces, even just ketchup, mustard, honey mustard. Just let them try different sauces, and they love meatballs. Mix this up and I'm going to form it into a ball. You want to make sure you get all the crackers and the egg mixed in. If you're adding water, mix all that in too. Just check the bowl. It's going to look something like this. I'm going to sanitize my counter real quick. You can't see it, but off to this side is a little piece of ground turkey and there might be some juices on the counter. So I'm going to just wipe that off with a wet paper towel. Throw that. And then I'm going to spray it with this Lysol all-purpose cleaner and let it sit for 1 minute. I'm going to take a clean paper towel and wipe that off. And then wipe it off one more time with a wet towel, a wet dish rag, or even another wet paper towel. That's fine. And now it's sanitized. I put foil in a baking sheet and then I'm just going to grease it with some canola oil spray. Now we're going to form these into meatballs. If you have a little cookie scoop like this, you can use that. This is a 1 tablespoon size. You just scoop it. I like to smooth it out. Again, clean hands and gloves. Scoop it out, put it there. If you do not have a cookie scoop, you can always use a tablespoon, which is the bigger spoon. Just scoop it. Roll it into a ball, and then just put that on your pan. It's going to do the same thing for all of these, and then I'll be back. I'm just going to rearrange some of these. I like to keep some of these in the freezer for those nights when my picky eater doesn't like what we're having, and I'm be like, hey, there's some meatballs in the freezer, go heat them up. You can always throw a few of these in with your pasta sauce when you're heating it for spaghetti and meatballs. I'm going to bake these at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. You can bake them a little bit longer, but know that if you go a little longer, they do get a little crispy on the bottom. Not a bad thing, but if you're adding them to a sauce, you probably don't want that. All right, it's been 20 minutes and this is what they look like. I'll cut one open so you can see what it looks like. They're firm but very soft inside. There's a little bit of grease with the turkey meatballs, but not as much as there would be with hamburger. So just know that if you're using hamburger for these meatballs, they will be pretty greasy. You can just put them on a paper towel to help absorb some of the grease. And there's homemade meatballs. I'm gonna make some meatball subs, and I have these hoagie rolls that I'm going to just butter and broil just for a minute. If you do not have a broil function on your oven, you can always bake this at 400 degrees for 5 minutes. I'm just making 2 meatball subs, so I am kind of guessing on the sauce. I have about a cup of sauce in here, and the hoagies are kind of big, and my meatballs are a little small, so I am just going to use 5 meatballs. That's probably too many, but that's okay. So I've got 10 meatballs total and 1 cup of sauce. I'm just going to dump them in. These are frozen meatballs. And then I'm just going to heat this up, which will take a few minutes, and then put these on the toasted buns. If you do not have the hoagie rolls, hot dog buns work, and I would probably do 3 meatballs, maybe 4 on a hot dog bun. So I'm going to cover and simmer this for maybe 5 minutes and see where we're at. Here's a tip for you. If you do not have a lid for a pan like this, or even a skillet, you can always use a pizza pan and put that on top. Just be very careful when you take this off. Use a pot holder to take it off, but that works too. After a minute on broil, that's what your toasted bun should look like. This is what the meatballs and sauce look like after 5 minutes. I think that looks perfect. And you can use any kind of sauce. I forgot to say that. You can use any jar sauce, pan sauce. I just use my homemade sauce. I'm just going to scoop them up and put them on. You can use the shaky canned Parmesan if you want. I have the fresh Parmesan. Sprinkle that on top. And you don't want too much sauce, otherwise it will make your bread soggy. All right, I'm going to broil that for another minute or so, maybe a minute and a half. If you do not have a broiler, bake it again at 400 degrees for 4 to 6 minutes. Start with 4 minutes. If it looks like it needs a little bit longer, go 5 minutes. I broiled it for a minute and a half. Next, I'm going to make sweet and sour meatballs. I'm going to be cutting this recipe in half. I need half of a red pepper and half of a green pepper. You can freeze your peppers. I just cut them into strips and freeze them. And I happen to have the yellow, orange, and red peppers froze together. I'm just going to use them all. I'm just going to guess on the amount. And same with the green peppers. I'm just going to guess on those, and then I'll dice those up. It calls for onion too, but I do not have any right now, so I'm going to omit that part. I'm going to dice up the peppers and then put them into the crock pot. I'm going to use my pressure cooker as a crock pot. And then I need half of a pound of meatballs. And since I'm using the homemade meatballs, I'm just going to kind of guess. I'll just say 14 meatballs is a half a pound. For the sauce, I need just a little bit over 1/3 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, just under 1/4 of a cup of vinegar. You can use either white distilled vinegar or apple cider vinegar. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1/4 cup of lemon lime soda. I have this dented can, so I'm just going to use that. Whisk that together. Pour the sauce over the meatball mixture. Stir together until the meatballs are coated with the sauce. Set your crock pot on low for 3 to 5 hours. It's been 3 hours. I think this looks great. I'm serving this over white rice, and then I put some chives on top. You could also use green onion if you'd like. And that's sweet and sour meatballs. Thanks for hanging out with me today. What's your favorite way to serve up frozen meatballs? Let me know below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.